Well, it certainly was a big day yesterday, Sundo. News dropping that this Nurkic and Ayton trade really was going to go through. A little bit of disappointment from a lot of Suns fans, feeling like they could have gotten more, should have gotten more. But in the end, Suns end up with Jusuf Nurkic, Keon Johnson, Grayson Allen, and Nasir Little. I'll be honest, I was bummed out yesterday, but immediately after our live stream, started watching all the plays, not just the highlights between Deandre Ayton and Jusuf Nurkic last year, just to try to get an idea of how they played versus each other, what we're gaining, what we're losing. And I'm happy to report, Sundo, that I'm in a much better mood now. I feel like Jusuf Nurkic could really possibly fit this team better than what Deandre Ayton did, even though he's overall less talented. What did you think after watching the two play versus each other?
Well, what I think is that Frank Vogel's going to get, in some ways, the exact center that he wants for the system. Jusuf Nurkic, we watched the highlights, and he wasn't afraid to put his body into Deandre Ayton. He wasn't afraid to bump. He wasn't afraid to back up, throw bows, if you will. Wasn't afraid to really do the dirty work as much as we saw. The one thing that I saw from him, though, was on switches, he's very, what's the word I'm looking for?
A liability?
Not a liability, but yes, in a way, because he would be very willing to go out and play the guard instead of, letting his man come back and then he'd leave, the cutter wide open. And so in a way, as much as we like him for what he's going to provide for us on offense, there is, in some ways, he can be a liability on defense, as we saw. Much better rebounder than Deandre Ayton. I'll give you that. When Nurkic wants to rebound, he can really do a good job. But as far as having him guarding the perimeter, that's going to be a bit of an issue, especially when it comes to the pick and roll.
Yeah, he's definitely less switchable because he's slower. But in ways, I find that to be a positive. Like, he lives around the paint area. He's not searching to get into the mid-range area where a forward should be. He's down low on the block, hanging and banging, getting rebounds, altering shots, getting putbacks, because that's where he resides, down there. And like with our team, remember, we do have Beal, Book, and Durant. We might need somebody who's more of a paint dweller than another mid-range merchant, which, watching a lot of these Deandre Ayton highlights, I'm remembering he really does just love to live in the mid-range. Well, we've got that taken care of with Durant and Booker, let alone Beal is a mid-range killer. I don't know that we need our center to be living in that soft mid-range area. I think we need a big goon that just almost like Jonas Valanciunas.
Yeah, Jonas Valanciunas would have been the perfect big man for us to get, but he wasn't on the table. So I agree with you on that one. And he can do those things. And he will be asked to do those things. There were a few weaknesses I did see versus Ayton. I mean, there were a lot of times when Ayton was in the mid-range on the perimeter. He did get left, and Ayton did get the best of him, especially on, turnarounds and whatnot. The one thing Ayton wasn't going to do was post him down. We did see that when Ayton tried. Nurkic, stayed firm and didn't let him. But I compare that to what is Nurkic going to be doing for us against teams that we're going to be competing with. I automatically think of Joker. I automatically think of Giannis Antetokounmpo. I automatically think of bigs like that. I do think, and everybody's going to struggle with Joker, that's just who he is. He's a Joker. But I think he will be a liability as far as guarding Joker. But the one thing he will do better than what Ayton did is rebound. And that's literally the one thing we needed that man to do in that Nuggets series, and he just refused to do it. And that's one thing I am confident that Nurkic will do, and that is, even though he does get beat by Joker, he will at least box out and have a good effort in rebounding. And honestly, that's all we really, would want him to do in that situation. We don't need him to be Superman. You just need to do your job and do your job well, and that's one thing he will do over Deandre Ayton for sure.
I also don't mean to sound like Nurkic can't hit a mid-range shot. He certainly can. We saw him hit a filthy step back fadeaway in DA's face. It's there, but it's not his main focus. I feel like his main focus is being in the paint, like I said, but also he's not scared to death of shooting threes. We saw him hit a few threes. He had his best statistical 3-point percentage last season. I think he got up to like 36%, which for him is an arrow pointing upwards. With DA, there was absolutely no thought of shooting threes. I mean, he shot a couple, ironically, versus the Blazers early in the year, and then basically never again. When he would get the ball at the top of the key, and this could have been Monty, right? This could have been Monty's, telling him not to, but he wouldn't even look at the rim while holding the ball. He would just immediately look for somebody to hand it off to. Nurkic can kind of spread the floor, especially comparatively to DA. He can spread the floor, Sundo, and that has to go for something as well. What
we saw in that was, I think if he can improve on that, I think he will 100% turn it around for this team. I don't want to, exaggerate on that. But if he does add that, and if he's a consistent 39% 3-point shooter, they're going to leave him open up top because a lot of people are not going to believe he's going to be able to do it. And so if he can add that and be consistent and add that to his repertoire, yes, that's going to open up a lot of stuff for us, especially, like we've already mentioned, the big three with Beal, Booker, and Durant. If you have Nurkic and then whoever the other starter is hitting threes, open threes, it's pick your poison at that point. And so, yeah, that was a positive that we did see in the highlights, was him actually willing to take those shots and knocking some of them down. And if he can improve on that, then yeah, it's lights out.
Nurk isn't going to beat Ayton in a combine setting, right? He's not going to out jump him. He's not going to outspeed him, but things are different on the block. Things are different in the paint. It's not about all the time speed and vertical. Vertical plays in, but you see a couple times Nurk beats Ayton on a rebound. Does Vert come into play? I mean, you combine all of this that we've discussed with the fact that he's $16 million less per year. And like we talked about in the live stream, thanks to everybody for coming out to that. Statistically, championship teams do not set up their roster for success by paying a max contract to a center. Joker beat that allegation last year, but that's like one title that went to a top center in the last 13 years or something. So I almost feel like we might be setting ourselves up in the future for more flexibility. And I think it's important to note, we thought during the live stream that this deal saved us money. It doesn't. It's actually like $1 million or somewhere between like $1 million and $5 million more we're paying now. So this move was not done to save money at all. In fact, it's costing Matt Ishbia more. So this could be a visionary thing for him and Vogel. They think that Nurkic playing in the post, absorbing more rebounds, being more physical is what pairs better with our big three and all the shooters around. And I'm not going to be surprised if they're right in the end.
I can't agree with that last statement. If they were right, that I wouldn't be surprised either. To your point about the big men winning the NBA championship, I mean, yes, to your point, it has to be a generational talent at the big position in recent trends for a championship. Like you mentioned, a Joker, Anthony Davis,
4.
He could be a 5 or a 4, you know what I mean? But either way, it has to be a generational talented type big, to win a championship there. And so, let's recognize that for sure. Yeah, we thought Deandre Ayton was going to be that, but he just hasn't turned out to be that. And so you don't need a max center, in today's NBA. So to your point, yeah, I agree with that there. Also to the money point about, Nurkic being literally less than half the price for DeAndre Ayton, and then us being over the apron and in this trade. I do think the best part about this trade is that the pieces that we received are all easily movable in the future, and also players on our team able to be cut a la Ish Wainwright. And so when it comes to being over that, I think it'll be very easy to get underneath that. I think that was part of why they made this trade was, okay, we'll get some players that, are cheap at the end of the rookie deals, whatever. We'll be able to cut them if we need to. If we want to keep them, we can. We don't have to cut them immediately. We can go through the preseason with them and see who we want to keep, and then we can go ahead and cut who we want to cut. And so I think that's part of their plan as well. I do believe they'll get underneath it. I think they have a plan for it. That was part of the reports about wanting to trade Ayton, was to get underneath it. And so I don't think they're going to falter on that plan at all. And as far as what you said about it, this being a stylistic thing, I mean, once again, we've been saying this through the entire off season about how this team is going to be constructed, or how it has been constructed. And yes, every player that they got in this trade, minus maybe Keon Johnson, if we're being honest, like, we're not high on him at all, but every player that they got in this trade is a shooter or some sort of wing that's going to be long. And so that fits the bill with what they've been wanting to build with this team the whole time. And so once again, Nurkic is the big piece here, right? He's going to be your starting big, if things keep up, barring injury. Let's knock on wood there for that, because we don't want that to happen. But Nurkic is going to be the starting five. The other three players, if they stay on this team, will be role players shooting threes or playing defense, being long. I've mentioned that already. Nas is going to be a wing there. Grayson Allen, I mean, you could play him 1, 2, or 3 if you want to. Small 3, bigger 2, bigger 1. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of puzzle pieces with all the players they have. And I am really interested to see how they're going to do this. But one thing is going to be for sure: on defense, we will be in people's faces. On defense, we will have hands and faces for sure. There's no way we can't, with the amount of length that we have on this team now.
Tell us what you guys think in the comments. We'll be dropping probably close to a video per day, if not more, this next week, leading up to the preseason beginning. Until we see you guys next time, go Suns.